Before I start, so I mean, like John mentioned, I meant looks at migration as an opportunity, and we work at migration from India, within India, and to India. And while all our research work was going on, we're in March 2020, and suddenly there's a lockdown announced, and the stakeholders who we've all been trying to work for and with are we see them on the road, and we realize that while we're sitting at home, one of our strengths would be that if in some way we can get everybody together. And it just in a moment we decided to open up our office WhatsApp group for everybody, and I think in a couple of days we had organizations working with migrants, with different kinds of stakeholders in the group, just trying to help people all over the country. So we had help requirements coming in at all times, at different times, and people were just at it. So that's kind of where the work during the COVID crisis started. And while that was going on, we realized that there is need to reach out to the people who we had conducted surveys and research with before, just to kind of just check in on them. And when we did that, this was during and again April, May, we realized that while there's a lockdown and people are stuck in cities, even though they are in labor camps, people were not getting paid on time, and they also had no work to do. And this led to us doing a larger research as to understanding why the whole payment issue is happening even before pre-COVID. So it was also for us to understand if it's because of the pandemic, if it's because of the lockdown, or is it the usual delay in payments that also happens with migrants. And I'm going to start my screen. Yes. So the idea of this research was basically to understand who exactly is an employer. And when I say who is an employer, the idea is to understand who is responsible for the welfare of the migrant workers. And this is a case study that we did in Thane, Maharashtra. And we had also done a similar study with the same cohort even before the lockdown, which was in from January to March 2020. I'm going to leave the introduction of the construction sector because I'm guessing everybody already knows that, and the migrants and the construction sector has been is finally being talked about quite a bit. So just to give you an overview of this site, this was a private sector undertaking, and the contracts for the workers were both informal and formal. We were basically trying to look at four major questions. Number one, what are the hierarchies at the site? Number two, what happens because of these hierarchies? Is that the cause of the confusion? Number three was to look at the regulations that exist and see how they define an employer. And the last one was to see if there is a potential area of conflict. The way we went about it is we did qualitative and quantitative surveys and semi-structured interviews with workers in January to March 2020. We also we did semi-structured and unstructured interviews at the site with all the other stakeholders, like the micro contractors who are also petty contractors, the subcontracting companies, the labor in charge, and every possible hierarchy that is there. After that, during the lockdown, we reached out to the same people and conducted surveys and interviews on phone with them. This was in April and May 2020. And while we were doing all this, our research team was also just looking at the acts and reviewing how the definition of what the definition of an employer is. At the construction site, there were about 93% of workers who were migrants, and most of them were from the states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, and more than half of these workers were helpers. Within workers, there are hierarchies based on their skill, And a helper is basically an unskilled or a semi-skilled worker who performs the tasks of carrying materials or just helping the other skilled craftsmen. We also looked, like I mentioned, we also looked at the acts and tried to understand what their definitions are. And while it's only the Interstate Migrant Workers Act that kind of recognizes these hierarchies, but when it comes down to the definition, it's still very vague. So just to give some more context, there is the company at top, the company who runs the project, who then hires subcontracting companies. These subcontracting companies hire micro contractors who then hire workers. And even within workers, you have hierarchies based on their skills. Now, what happens is when you look at it from the bottom up, from the worker's perspective, it's their micro contractor who's their point of contact. So when a crisis like this happens and they have to reach out to somebody for help, the first person they would ideally reach out is their micro contractor. And that's also what we saw during our interviews and surveys, is that people were either complaining about their contractor or saying nice things about their contractor, that my contractor was there to help me, or my contractor has not been picking up my call. This led to us reaching out to the micro contractors themselves, and we did that both in Maharashtra and Delhi, and largely realized that it was actually them who were trying to take care of their workers through their own money, because their payment itself has been delayed from the higher authority. And this made us realize that this hierarchy and this confusion, it comes from the fact that the worker thinks their point of contact is the employer, while the micro contractor says that it's the subcontracting company for whom they've hired the workers. So here we just did a brief differentiation as to what the micro contractors said and what the subcontracting company, which is the management side, said. As per the micro contractor, the employer is the subcontracting company, because although it's the micro contractor who's recruiting the worker, they're doing so for the company itself, and it's the company who's responsible for the payment of wages, and if at all there is a delay. On the other hand, the subcontracting company was of the view that it's the decision on who becomes a worker at a site is with the micro contractor, and because they are the point of contact, it's them who should be responsible for the welfare of the workers. Towards the end, we came to the conclusion of, although I mean there was not a recommendation per se, but we realized that number one, there is this problem kind of starts with the policy itself, because it's only the Interstate Migrant Workers Act that recognizes that there are these hierarchies that exist. But when we talk about who essentially should be responsible for the welfare, that distinction does not exist. The other thing is that on this particular site, there were about 48 subcontracting companies, which would mean that even if each of them has about, say, 3 or 4 micro contractors, and each of them has about 15 workers, there are more than 300, 400 workers on that site. And who does this person go to when he's stuck in a lockdown? And that's what leads to the confusion. So while the problem comes from a whole policy and implementation angle, what we also realized is if one wants to actually help workers, migrant workers particularly, it's their micro contractor, it's their contractor who's going to be very crucial, because they are their direct point of contact. And micro contractors are essentially just experienced workers. So in order to help workers, the best way we realized would be through the contractors themselves. And that's kind of where we shifted our facilitation of help during the lockdown too, that we started reaching out to more and more contractors in different destination of migrants, and tried to help migrants through them. And I think that kind of worked for us. And because they are such important influencers, our upcoming projects, which is focusing on providing financial inclusion services to migrants, both at source and destination, which is going to be focused in the Bundelkhand Delhi corridor. We actually plan on using these contractors as influencers in Delhi and using them as agents to see if they can provide these financial services to contractors. So yeah, that's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions.